The Bible says that when the Israelite soldiers saw Goliath, they ran from him in great fear. King Saul, a man who the Bible says stood head and shoulders above everyone else in Israel, a man chosen specifically because he looked like a king, was terrified too. 40 days of fear, 40 days of shame, 40 days of a whole army standing still while one man mocked their God. And then David arrived. Now, here is the part people rush past. David was not a soldier. He was the youngest of 8 brothers, and his job at that point was simple. His father Jesse sent him to the battlefield to bring food to his older brothers and to bring back news of how they were doing. He was a delivery boy. He arrived at the camp, dropped off the supplies, and ran toward the battle lines to greet his brothers. And that is exactly when Goliath stepped out and began his daily speech. David heard it, and his reaction was completely different from everyone else around him. While the soldiers were shrinking back in fear, David was asking questions. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? Not, wow, he is huge. Not, we should probably retreat. But who does he think he is talking about God like that? David was angry, and right there, in that reaction, you can already see that David was operating with a completely different perspective than everyone else on that hillside. David's oldest brother Eliab heard him asking questions, and he was furious. He snapped at David. Why have you come down here? And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle. That is a brutal thing to say to your younger brother. Notice what Eliab did. He attacked David's character. He called him conceited. He accused him of abandoning his responsibilities. He dismissed him completely. And this was his own family, his own blood. David had probably heard words like these before. He was the youngest. He was the shepherd, the one nobody thought to even invite when the prophet Samuel came to anoint the next king of Israel. His own father didn't call him in from the field. His own brothers didn't take him seriously. But David did not collapse under those words. He simply turned away and asked someone else. That is worth pausing on. David did not fight his brother. He did not crumble into insecurity. He did not go home. He just turned away and kept moving. Eventually, word reached King Saul that this young man was asking questions and seemed unafraid. Saul called for him. David walked in and said something remarkable. He said, "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." Saul looked at this shepherd boy and said what anyone would say. "You're not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior since his youth." This is the moment. This is where David's answer reveals everything. David did not say, "I am stronger than I look." He did not say, "I have been practicing with my sling." He told Saul a story. He said, "When I was keeping my father's sheep, a lion came and carried off one of the lambs. I went after it, struck it, and rescued the lamb from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair and killed it. I killed both the lion and the bear. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." Do you see what David was doing? He was not building his confidence on his own strength. He was not talking about his skill level or his training. He was pointing back to a history he had with God, a proven track record, a personal testimony that nobody in that throne room knew about, hidden moments in the fields, in the darkness, alone with the sheep, where God had come through for him again and again. David had been building his faith in secret long before he was ever tested in public. Saul agreed to let him go. He even tried to put his own armor on David, heavy, royal, military armor. David tried it on, walked around in it, and said, "I cannot go in these because I am not used to them." He took them off. He walked to a stream, picked up 5 smooth stones, put them in his shepherd's bag, took his sling in his hand, and walked toward Goliath. 5 stones. Not 1. 5. Some people wonder about that. If David was so confident, why 5? One scholar suggests that Goliath had 4 brothers. David was prepared for all of them if he needed to be. He was not reckless. He was ready. Goliath saw David coming, and he was insulted. He looked at this young, handsome boy approaching him and said, "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" He cursed David and shouted, "Come here, and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals." And David, this teenager, this shepherd, this delivery boy, answered with one of the most powerful speeches in the entire Bible. He said, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands. The whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. And everyone gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands." Then David ran toward Goliath. He reached into his bag. He pulled out one stone. He put it in his sling. He swung it. The stone flew through the air and struck Goliath in the forehead. The giant fell face down on the ground. And just like that, 40 days of fear ended in 40 seconds of faith. When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they turned and ran. The Israelite army, the same army that had been paralyzed for 40 days, suddenly surged forward with a shout and chased them all the way back to their own cities. One boy's courage became the courage of an entire nation. One act of faith broke the grip of 40 days of fear. And it all started not on the battlefield, but in the quiet fields where nobody was watching. In those lonely nights with the sheep, where David had learned to trust God before anyone was paying attention. Here is what most people miss about this story. Goliath was not the real giant. The real giant was fear. And fear had already defeated the entire Israelite army long before Goliath threw a single spear. Goliath won every single morning just by showing up and speaking. His words did more damage than his weapons ever could. David defeated fear first. Then he defeated Goliath. And how did he defeat fear? Not with courage as a feeling. Not with some burst of bravery he suddenly discovered. He defeated fear with a history. A personal, private, real history with a God who had never let him down. The lion, the bear, every dark night in the field, every moment nobody saw, all of it was preparation for one moment on one hillside in front of two armies. Your private faithfulness is always preparation for your public purpose. And that is the thing you missed. David did not become great on the day he faced Goliath. He became great in all the ordinary, invisible, unremarkable days that came before it. Your giant is not waiting to be defeated by who you will become someday. It is waiting to be defeated by who you are choosing to become right now. In the quiet, in the ordinary, in the unseen. Because the battle always belongs to the Lord. But he tends to give it to the people who already know that, long before the giant ever shows up.